So what do you think about when you hear these words with this melody? Shir hamalot b'shuv Adonai et shivat Zion hayinu kecholmin. Chances are that when you hear that, you think of the Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals, on Shabbat and on holy days, because those words from Psalm 126 are the prelude or the introduction to the grace after meals during those times. Psalm 126 says this, a song of ascents. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with shouts of joy. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us. We are glad. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like streams in the Negev. Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. He who goes out weeping, bearing the seed for sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy, bringing his sheaves with him. The first three verses of this psalm remember God's great work in the past, when God restored our fortunes, and that is likely speaking about times of return from captivity and news of God's greatness and his great work on behalf of his people made its way out unto the nations. And the nations are looking, saying, wow, look what God has done for them. And then the psalmist acknowledges, again as a representative of Israel, God has done great things for us. The second half of the psalm turns to looking toward the future. Restore our fortunes, O Lord. There's this prayer or this hope that those who are sowing in tears will at last reap with shouts of joy. The psalmist sits between the past and the future, in the present, looking back upon what God has done, knowing that God will do great things for Israel in the future as well. What's so interesting about this psalm is that there's such praise for what God has done in the past, and the psalmist has this sense, it seems, of contentment and joy and satisfaction, and yet there's still an acknowledgement that what God has done in the past is not the end of the story, that there's more that God will do in the future. And this represents a future hope. And for us, we would say a messianic hope, the coming of the Messiah and the restoration of all things through him. The reason why this is prayed prior to the Birkat Hamazon on Shabbat and holidays is because after we've eaten and we're full and we're satisfied, we just feel this sense of joy and fulfillment. And of course, it's appropriate to recount God's goodness at that time. But at the same time, we're recognizing that even the best meal at a Passover Seder is not all there is by any stretch, and that we have much more to look forward to in the future, more than great meals, more than happy occasions, but the shalom of the living God descending over all of the earth at the return of our Messiah Yeshua. Let's sit in the present today, basking in the presence of God and of our Messiah Yeshua. I hope that this link that we've provided here in this email will help you as you reflect on God's goodness and as you cultivate more faith and hope and expectation of his work in your life in the future.